Howdy, folks, and a great big welcome to each and every one of you. Well, that tune that I just played is called the Rocky Mountain Goat, and it came to us from Henry Reed, who was an old time fiddler, and he was recorded by Alan Jabour, who worked in the Library of Congress years ago. Several different versions of it floating around. The one that I'm most familiar with, I learned off an old record that I bought years ago, a long play record. It was called Down on Ashby's Farm, and the fiddler was John Ashby. So I hope you enjoyed the tune. I enjoyed playing it. What I'd like to do now is do a little Bible reading. So for those of you folks who aren't interested in and do not want to hear a Bible reading, end the video now. I'll say adios. See you next time. Thanks for watching. For those of you who are hanging on, I want to talk a bit about Habakkuk. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right or not. He was an old-time prophet. One of the later books in the he wrote one of the later books in the Old Testament. 3 chapters long. And Habakkuk wrote it somewhere in the late 7th century before Christ. He was a contemporary of Jeremiah. Jeremiah lived worked in Jerusalem, and Habakkuk worked in Judah. So, 3 chapters in his book, and he starts off by complaining to God about the breakdown of law and order around him and wickedness that surrounds him. And God answered that he would send in the Babylonians to destroy the wicked people who had forsaken him. And it was around that time that the Babylonians defeated the Assyrians, and they also defeated Egypt. Well, then Habakkuk asked God, well, if you're a God of love and mercy, and you're always just and good, why are you using the Babylonians? Because they're just a bunch of bloodthirsty savages. What? Are you siding with them? And then Habakkuk went up into one of the high watchtowers to wait for God's response. And in the 3rd chapter of the book, God answers. He assured Habakkuk that he had not taken sides with the wicked Babylonians. He said that only those who trust him and remain faithful will survive the onslaught, but that the wicked shall perish. And even after they perish, the Babylonians will perish as well. So, in the 3rd chapter, Habakkuk heaves a sigh of relief and praise to God. And it's quite a poetic chapter to read. I'll just read you a bit from the end of it. So this is Habakkuk, chapter 3, verse 17. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen, and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Savior. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to go on to the heights. And then at the end of this chapter it says, for the director of music on my stringed instruments. So this prayer must have been in the form of a psalm. And the whole book kind of reminds me of the same questions that Job asked when he was suffering all of the afflictions that he had. At any rate, right at the end of this chapter, Habakkuk says, even though all the things that give me security and comfort right now, food and all of that stuff, those things might disappear, but I'm still going to hang on to, I will rejoice in the Lord, I will be joyful in God my Savior. So in the absence of things that make him comfortable, and when he's surrounded by an invading army of just cutthroat people, he's still hanging on, rejoicing in the Lord. And what a great example for us. Same kind of thing is happening nowadays in North America. Everybody's turned away from God, and we are being invaded by all sorts of horrible, evil things going on. The absence of God in the schools, the absence of God in the universities, absence of God in the government, and in the media, everywhere you look, God is not mentioned, and people are worshipping secularism or worshipping climate change. There's no such thing as truth anymore. Truth is relative. It's whatever you make it out to be. But that's all wrong, and that's eventually going to disappear because God is going to be victorious, and He is victorious. So, hope you enjoyed the little reading that I did. Hope you enjoyed the fiddle tune. And now comes time for me to say God bless, and we'll see you down the road.